Today's video is sponsored by Limpy the Quail. Available on Amazon.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the first episode of Movie Night Podcast. Movie Night Studio presents the Hayden Edgman Nashville Podcast working title. Today's episode, A Day in the Life of a Bouncer on Broadway. Now, Broadway is the road in Nashville that houses all the great music venues and clubs. With me tonight is Matthew. You know, and when I first met him, he told me he prefers Matthew over Matt. Yes. So I have to remember that at times.
It's a light preference. I'm not really picky.
You aren't, because this is probably the first time in almost 2 weeks I remembered that small detail about you, and I didn't remember it until I introduced you. So Matthew here is a bouncer at. Well, I'll let you kick it off, Matt. You know, you can just ease into this, man.
I usually introduce myself.
Yeah.
As the world's skinniest bouncer.
The world's skinniest bouncer.
Since there's no visual element to this podcast, I'm about 6'1", and I weigh about 160 pounds.
6'1", weighs 160 pounds. He's the world's skinniest bouncer.
Yeah, I'm probably not the world's skinniest bouncer, but people don't believe me when I tell them my job.
Yeah, Guinness Book of World Records probably has like some, bouncer in a Saharan country who has dedicated his life to being the skinniest bouncer.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, no, I mean, there's smaller guys than me, but like 6'1" is kind of like undersized for bouncing.
6'1",
believe it.
Really? Okay. Yeah. So a visual representation, guys. Like, imagine kind of Scott Pilgrim versus the world, but he grew up a little and got a little gruffer, got a little
disgusting,
little more grunge.
I hate this.
He's lanky, but like a pirate body almost. You know what I mean? He's very lean.
Pirate's cool.
Yeah, he's very lean, but he's just very thin, very long. Yeah, that's kind of how I would describe Matthew's physique. So yeah, man, take us through like a day. Like, what happened today, man? Like, we'll just start simple. You can just ease into this, Well, we don't need a biography here.
Yeah.
Like, what happened today? Like you work today. You work at a place called Whiskey River.
Yeah. So I work. I guess today was Sunday, so Sunday would probably be the third or fourth most popular day, but we're kind of in the off season. So I was the only bouncer there. So you have to be a little bit more on top of problems before they happen. Like, you don't want to let a homeless person in and then you don't see it, and then you have to cause an altercation one-on-one. You know what I mean? So
people refer to you as the guy who has, like, you are close with all these homeless people. Like, you talk all the time. Like, you hang out. You not hang out with these guys like out of work, but like in front of the place. Like, you'll talk to these guys like old friends.
Broadway, because it's Nashville's such a big tourist location. The homeless people, like, busking can be pretty lucrative for homeless people on Broadway.
Yeah,
like begging for money. So it's not only are there a lot of them, they often know the ordinances very well, right? So if you make an enemy out of a homeless person, they will stand in front of your bar right at the end where you cannot legally go do anything, and then they will just be, they obviously, like, visually, they are a huge contrast with what my high-end whiskey bar is going for.
Yeah.
So it's a lot better for me to make nice with them and entertain them a little bit and offer them a free bottle of water, and then eventually you kind of make the conversation boring and they want to leave.
Yeah.
That's usually my main strategy.
Right.
I've heard of other strategies, but I don't think they're very good. I've had to use other strategies.
Okay.
But generally it's pretty rare. Like, like, if you're homeless, I'm actually going to give you more leeway.
Yeah.
Because I don't want, because you have time to come back.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You live here.
Yeah. Yeah, you can come back and fuck with me.
Yeah. So, making friends is...
Mm-hmm.
You really don't want to make an enemy out of the homeless, in my opinion.
Now, I know some guys of much bigger stature that intimidate the homeless, and they run away.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so it depends on what you're working with.
Yeah.
But my strategy certainly works for me.
Yeah.
I feel like.
You strike me as a guy that, like, maybe in first glance, I wouldn't really be intimidated by.
Yeah.
But you have, if you ever sit down and talk with Matthew about, like, fighting, he will talk your ear off. I mean, you were telling me all these different... What was that thing you told me the other day about how you can kind of stop a drunk person so easy with the jaw and grabbing his arm? Like...
Oh, that's... All right, that's not something you could do in bouncing. That would be like more of an offensive technique.
An offensive technique.
Yeah, but I guess it does have a lot of application because often drunk people will kind of do like the dap you up, where you'll grab each other's hand like this and then kind of like go in, like move towards each other.
Okay.
That happens a lot. Like drunk people will give you all these weird friendly signals and then lose their cool. You know, like you can never really tell.
Yeah.
You kind of just have to put up with whatever they do until they either leave or assault you, you know, and 99.9% of the time they're going to leave, thankfully. But yeah, if you dap someone up, right, your hand is going to be in a dominant position. Like if you think arm wrestling, if you dap them up and they're not expecting it, you can kind of like lower their arm and establish a dominant position from there. But you know, people there's kind of like a ebb and flow to applying force to someone you're touching. And even if you're drunk, you're going to kind of understand when someone is applying more force than you expect. So escalating a situation it's generally not what you want to do as the security at the bar.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But when you're smaller, if someone is already doing a lot of crazy shit, like sometimes you have to escalate just enough to like get them out quickly, you know, like we don't need this to go any farther.
What is, in your opinion, like let's say you have a very aggressive situation, what is your like fastest, most efficient move to deal with a threat?
Well, there's a lot of laws you have to consider on Broadway. Like before I became a bouncer, I boxed for 2 years, and then I did jiu-jitsu for about 8 months, right?
Yeah.
So you can't really punch someone as a bouncer. I mean, you can in certain situations, but you cannot get caught doing it, you know, and
Really?
you definitely can't do it first.
Really?
Yeah, because that's just an assault, really. So, you know, boxing training, you're going to really have to find corner cases where your skills are going to be applicable.
Okay.
But the defensive stuff is always applicable, which can be really effective. So, you know, I'm thankful to have it. I don't feel like I'm ill prepared. With jiu-jitsu, the problem is like in 2018, someone died after being like restrained by bouncers, and he really didn't die due to a chokehold. But the result of this was a law where if you attempted like a chokehold on someone, it's like, you know, a super serious charge now. And
Really?
Yeah, and that's kind of counterintuitive if you know about fighting, because chokeholds, they can be dangerous, but it's a lot less, you know, if you snap someone's arm, that is a for sure lawsuit, you know, whereas a chokehold, if someone passes out for 2 seconds and you raise up their legs and they come back, they're going to generally be calmed down. They're just not going to know what the hell happened, you know?
Yeah,
so a chokehold could be effective in bouncing. It's just kind of risky, but it is now completely off limits in Nashville, right?
Wow.
Yeah. Some people look at that like I've heard attitudes where it's like, that's stupid. And I get it. But I've also, like, you know, you never know if someone has a heart condition or someone's, like, really overweight. You never know what's going to happen. So it's probably for the best, right?
Yeah.
Probably the best thing, like, if someone's really aggressive, they're most likely very drunk, right?
Yeah.
If they're going to attack you, 90% of the time, they're going to do a looping right hook, right? So if you don't have, like, a glove on, you're going to want to take your hand and grab the back of your head, and you're going to block their punch with the meat of your arm.
Oh, shit. Okay.
That's the best thing to do. If you think they're going to swing at you, is kind of like have your hands at chest height and be ready to like grab the back of your head with your right hand.
Okay.
Or your left hand.
I never do that.
Yeah, if you've ever watched The Sopranos, Paulie Walnuts, he's always got his hands up here, like almost by his face, and he talks like this. It's something a lot of guys who spend a lot of time in prison do.
Really?
They're always ready to block.
They're always ready to put their hand behind the back of their head.
They're looking like this. They're talking like this with their hands folded.
For those,
almost at chest height.
Matthew is saying like this. What he's doing is he's folding his hands almost like some kind of beggar almost, and he's putting them up near his chin, or
maybe like praying or pointing. Any type of anything to like get your hands closer to your face, but also look a little natural.
Yeah. Okay, I see what you're saying. So kind of like maybe if you're just holding them together as if you were almost pleading with somebody. But then that also, it's like right now I have my hands clasped together. They're about 3 inches below my chin.
Yeah.
And so if I was going to go to block, I have a very easy just kind of movement I have to make where one of my hands goes up, reaches the back of my head to hold for balance. Yeah. And then I use my elbow to block the fist, which is going to really hurt his fist.
Or there's a lot of meat there,
Wow. Okay.
That's the best way to block without a glove.
Okay.
For sure.
Wow, that's a great defensive, offensive kind of move.
And 90% of people are right-handed. Drunk people are just they're not thinking if they're being aggressive, so they're gonna looping right hand.
Yeah.
So if your hands are already up there, ready to grab the back of your head, you're gonna be able to not take a lot of damage from that.
Wow. I never knew that. And so you want to use your left hand for that because most people are going to use their right hand.
Yeah. I mean, it's all going to depend on like where you're positioned.
Exactly. Yeah. Every situation is different, but you're probably going to be using that left hand a lot.
Yeah. I guess if it's mirrored, you would be using your left hand.
Yeah. Okay. So that's probably the first move.
Yeah.
That you would say is probably very effective in your line of work and everything.
Yeah.
So from there.
So if you really needed to restrain someone, especially for someone of my size, most people that are going to be aggressive, let's face it, they're going to be bigger people. Like that's just kind of, in my opinion, maybe I'm like biased, but I think that's the way it lines up. Like if you're bigger, maybe you've intimidated people before with your size.
Yeah.
Or you're trying to intimidate me at least because I'm smaller.
Yeah, I've definitely been there before. Like, if I'm in a situation where I'm not in a situation, but like when I was in college, I might like get rid of someone who was smaller than me just by using my mere size. Like maybe he was drunk, or maybe he was just acting a scene. I just needed him to get out of a doorway or something. Yeah, you might just kind of like push him out. So that kind of gives you. Unfortunately, the downside to that is it gives you an air of confidence you don't really deserve.
Exactly. Yeah. Like I've definitely dealt with smaller people differently than bigger people before.
Okay.
But if I was dealing with a bigger guy, which is probably someone that's more likely to be aggressive, in spite of a lot of de-escalation techniques, you would, whether or not they attacked you with a looping right hand, which is highly likely, you would want to go for a technique called an arm drag, where basically it's not going to matter how you do this, whether they punch or whether you grab the sleeve of their long sleeve shirt or whether you grab their wrist, but you need to get under their arm and you need to create an angle where you're kind of like facing their back, right?
Okay.
So like imagine if I was trying to like give you the Heimlich maneuver.
Okay.
That's the position we're trying to get to. And there's two things we need to make sure we do. We need to get our hands around him so we can kind of control where he goes.
Yeah.
The better grip we got, obviously the better.
Okay.
And then two, we're going to hide our head in the middle of his back. So his hands and his legs can't hit us in the head while we've used both our hands to restrain him.
You're going to hide your head in the middle of his back.
Yeah, you're going to kind of like the same way a doctor would like put a stethoscope up to your chest, you're going to put one of your ears up to the middle of his back if you can, or as close as possible, so he can't elbow you in the side of the head and inflict a lot of damage.
Yeah.
So from there, you pretty much won. The only thing you have to do is lift up your leg and put some part of your leg in the back of his knee. And he's going to fall down, and you're going to fall on top of him, and you pretty much won the fight.
You put your... Say that last part again.
You just have to put any pressure on the back of his knee.
The back of the knee, and then he's just going to go down.
Yeah.
So, okay,
100%.
so I'm just trying to visualize the whole thing. Like, some people obviously know what you're talking about, but like a lot of guys like me who don't really have any martial arts kind of background except for maybe high school wrestling, you know, it's just like you wrap around. Yeah. Like your arms are kind of at his elbows. I'm guessing like
the lower the better. Like if you can get around his belly or his waist, that's going to be better.
So if you're on his forearms, that's kind of the main target. Like
for the arm drag, yeah.
Well, to get your arms around his forearms,
you want to connect your arms around his whole body.
Sure. But as far as what point you're on, like at what point the arms go around, you want them around like kind of the forearms, right? Like if his arms are going straight down. Yeah, like he's just standing straight up with his hands like down. You would want, if you could, to hold down his forearms.
That's a better case scenario.
Yeah.
I'm assuming you trap 0 arms.
Oh, really?
If you would trap both arms, that's great.
Oh, so you're saying this can be like if you only get one arms, no arms, or anything. You're just going. Okay, so the lower the better, though.
Yeah, exactly. If you're like if you're highly skilled, like in the Marines. Close combat training, they'll teach you an arm drag where you'll catch one arm and you'll bring them down by their neck and the arm. Yeah, and that is really strong. But you know, maybe these guys are taller than me. Maybe they're if you catch someone around their waist and they start doing crazy stuff, you can drop to your knees and now your arms are at the back of their knees and you can still take them to the ground.
Using like dead weight just to bring them down.
Yeah. You kind of like you really just need to restrain them from moving and have enough of an angle where you can apply pressure to the back of their knees and anyone of any size is going to go to the ground. Yeah, that's just the way the human body works.
And then once they get to the ground, where do we go from here? Do we just wait till other bouncers come to kind of get this guy out of here, or? Yeah,
pretty much. At that point, like it's.
What if you're alone?
So, I this has never happened to me, but assuming. If you have done jiu-jitsu for 3 or 4 months and they haven't, or you've done a couple years of high school wrestling and they haven't, you are not going to lose to a drunk person on the ground. You know what I mean, right? There's no way in hell.
Sure.
Right?
Sure. Okay.
So like if I have to do knee on belly,
and keep in mind, folks, this is if you had that training you just mentioned. Like that's kind of the qualifier here. Yeah. Don't think you're just going to win a fight against a drunk guy if you get to the ground.
Some of my coworkers don't have that training, but they're 6'5" and 300 pounds.
Right.
They're not going to lose on the ground either if they fall on top of you.
Yeah.
So you're going to have some kind of advantage, I'd hope, at this point in the altercation.
Yeah.
And if no one's come to help you at this point, you can't choke them and you can't strike them. So you probably want to maintain a positional control and try and put your weight on their stomach. And, I've never been in this position in the bar, but I have eaten pretty poor meals and gone to jiu-jitsu and had a guy sit on my stomach. And it is pretty damn uncomfortable. So that's got to be, like, they're going to calm down quick. You're going to vomit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like... You're at that point you're embarrassing them to leave.
He's getting sat on at that point. Yeah. It's just
but usually like someone in the crowd will help you. Someone is not drunk and will be like, that guy's in the wrong. Like this bouncer shouldn't have to do this. Let's just pull him out because we can have 2 guys against 1 and we won't have to hurt him. So that's a more likely scenario.
Yeah.
But if someone does attack you and they're drunk, it's normally going to be a right hand, and then you're going to want to get under that arm, connect your hands around their waist, put your knee into the back of their knee, and fall on top of them. And then if they still don't give up, and you have to follow the law to the T, you just kind of want to sit on their stomach until they give up. That would 100% be my best advice. And that's what I would try to do in that scenario for sure.
Okay. That's because that's going to be legal.
Yes.
It's also going to be effective.
Yeah, 100%.
Have you ever been in a situation where that just wasn't enough? And you had to use more force? Like, I'm just, for curiosity.
No, but my coworkers have.
Really?
Yeah. Some of my coworkers who are much bigger recently had to deal with a guy who was pretty big, but mostly like obese big,
Okay.
But still taller and bigger. He's got a lot of size to him.
Mm-hmm.
And he was with his family, and he got drunk, and something happened. He assaulted one of the bouncers, and this guy was like, we describe this guy as Kurt Angle, if that puts it into perspective. This is not someone you would try and fight. He's huge and bald, and he was in the Marines.
Okay.
He's gigantic.
Yeah.
So he comes at this guy to speak to how drunk he is. He eventually gets put on the ground, right? Gets up, gets put on the ground again.
Oh.
4 or 5 times in front of his wife and 2 daughters.
You're kidding.
Not kidding.
What is his wife and daughter doing at this time?
They're just watching this. Like, I guess dad gets drunk that much,
They're just they're not like screaming. They're not like...
No, they can't stop him,
Oh, my God.
I mean, he's been acting out to this point to get kicked out because he was in the bar drinking this alcohol from us.
Yeah.
So, we give you leeway if you've got kids and you're spending a lot of money. So you got to act up to get kicked out with your wife and kids. And then you do, and then you come at the bouncers that are reasonable and their size to the point where if you're coming at them, you're unreasonable.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, you do that 4 or 5 times, losing every time. And it got to a point where, now he's, getting up, haggard, like the shirt's about to rip. Comes at the guy again. You're just throwing on the ground again.
Oh, my God.
Shirt flies up. He's got, a gun in his waistband.
Oh.
So now it's okay, you're in the bar with the gun, and you start doing stupid shit. He was, fake pulling for the gun, right? So someone that was in the army obviously tackled him, right? And then you got to arrest him.
Yeah.
And it's dude, your kids are here. You didn't have to do any of this. You didn't have to do any of this.
He pretended to go for the gun.
Yeah. 100%. That's yeah.
And so then another civilian, another patron of the bar who happened to be military.
A different bouncer.
A different bouncer.
Yeah, but just a guy that wasn't, because usually guys will have problems with one bouncer. If they keep coming back, they think it's personal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And he had a problem with the biggest guy and the smaller, but not super small, but just an ex-military guy that was there for backup. Saw that and he's like, I gotta get on top of him.
At that point,
he has to be restrained.
Yeah,
gun. If you have a gun, you have to be restrained.
That's not cool. That's not cool at all.
Yeah,
that's so unsafe.
But I think it speaks to how much leeway we try and give you. You know what I mean?
A little.
We let you assault us 4 or 5 times.
A
it
little.
Wasn't me. I wouldn't.
That's horrifying.
That's why I don't work nights anymore. That's the only way I can say it. I don't work nights anymore.
Oof, that's brutal. I have no words.
Yeah, That's a secondhand story, though.
It's a secondhand story. Oh, yeah. So you weren't there, but that's what everyone. But multiple bouncers told you this story. Multiple people.
I watched the camera footage.
Oh, the camamera footage. This is the security camera.
It's pretty funny.
Yeah,
because you can speed it up. It's Benny Hill-esque.
Because he's just 5 times he's coming up, pushing them down, going up.
When you put fat people into 2x speed, they're moving pretty fast. It gets pretty funny.
Looks like Looney Tunes cartoons.
Yeah,
just bouncing across the stage.
Yeah. But it's just I don't want you to get arrested. I want you to come and have fun, and your kid do a little spin on the dance floor, and you like country music, and you have fun and go home. That's what I want to happen.
Yeah.
I relax rules all the time.
Yeah.
As much as I can. And people,
yeah,
alcohol becomes involved, and it's a vacation.
Yeah.
And just things escalate all the time.
I laugh so hard when I see these tourists come here. And you can tell that They planned the whole Nashville experience. They're going to go to the Country Music Hall of Fame one day. They're going to go to Music Row one day. They're going to go to the Grand Ole Opry one day. But then they get to Broadway, and it's just alcohol.
It's Mardi Gras. Yeah.
And it literally is a party all the time. And
you start at 11 and you're done by 3 because you're not an alcoholic.
Yeah.
4 hours of drinking is enough.
It's death.
And now you're still in public.
And and these tourists, these Jimmy Buffett looking people, come out, and they get so drunk, they're like yelling in the street, and then I just laugh because I imagine the next morning they got tickets for the trolley at 10 a.m. and they're supposed to meet grandma for breakfast at the at the Lucky Duke Cafe or whatever. I imagine them so hungover and just like just miserable.
I hear it.
I can't imagine.
I overhear conversations like, I had to text them. I couldn't make it to the post wedding brunch. I'm like, well, yeah, it's Nashville. You're the third person in the elevator to say that.
Yeah. Bridal party capital.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Sure. The bridal parties are insane.
Everywhere you go is just sashes and tiaras, sashes and tiaras.
Yeah, I love it. It's honestly that's the heartbeat of the city.
Yeah, it is. Thank God. Keep coming, ladies.
Yeah,
we want to keep this thing going.
Yeah, I want you guys, if you listen, if this becomes famous later and you come back and listen to this, I want you to go on Pinterest and I want you to buy the cheesiest pack of T-shirts, like the sexy one, the bad influence, Miss Steak spelled MISS space steak, the bride, all of them, all the above, the rowdy one, let's go girls, all of it, sashes, everything, penis straws, all of it, buy all of it, come to Nashville, support the economy.
These are basically, what he's referring to is basically the gift bag, the classic starter kit for bridal parties in Nashville. Yeah. This is starter kit 101, ladies. So
yeah, 100%. You guys already know.
Sashes, tiaras, it's wonderful. Yeah. It literally fuels this fire, and it's a beautiful fire. Yeah. So that you got I gotta admit, man. I started this podcast like kind of very in charge and very confident of it all, and you got my heart beating pretty hard with that gun story, because I'm very I grew up with the whole hunter safety thing, the Boy Scouts, treating guns like freaking nuclear arms. You're very careful around them, and then you always grow up thinking that all people are like this, that all people are getting this gun training, and that everyone is going to be respectful of their gun. And then you go out to the desert, or you bounce at a bar, or you have that one friend that is stupid, and you realize that there are very few people who actually take guns seriously and actually are safe with guns, and that there's a huge problem with people not treating them right. Yeah, I mean, it definitely, you can see scenarios on Broadway where it's like, glad that guy didn't walk into my bar because he's open carrying. You know? And it's like, you just don't know what's gonna happen. Like we're in a tourist destination, this person's open carrying. Like you hate to think the worst, but that's also your job. What do you have to do to qualify for open carry here? I think you just have to own a gun. If you want me to be honest with you. Okay. I think if you own a gun, I think you're legally within your right to open carry it. I know you can't carry it into a bar, and I know you can't be under the influence and be open carrying. Okay. But so you are not allowed. It was illegal for that man to have that gun, 100%. Oh yeah. Okay. Oh yeah. In multiple cases. Yeah. Okay. So that's good at least. Yeah. Thank God. And also the fake pulling it. I mean, I don't think my bar will push that. There's no real reason you don't to fake anything. But that is a monumentally stupid idea. It's horrifying. Yeah, that's a ridiculously stupid thing to do. I don't care how unloaded you think your gun is. You don't point it at somebody. You don't pretend anything with a gun. Yeah, exactly. That's very stupid. It's painfully stupid. Yeah. Okay, so you can pretty much just carry a gun anywhere you want to. However, certain businesses will have their own laws, their own rules as far as whether or not you can bring them inside. Well, on Broadway,
everywhere serves alcohol. It is illegal to have a gun in a bar, even if you have a concealed carry permit. So if you have, like, you will occasionally see a guy that is open carrying on Broadway.
Yeah.
It's very rare.
Yeah.
Because they can't get in anywhere.
Yeah.
And it just because it's illegal. It's not really anyone's fault.
He's just walking around.
Like, he's just a guy that is open carrying in a public area.
Yeah.
And he can't enter any businesses.
Yeah.
He leaves pretty quick.
He's enjoying the dispensaries and the hot dogs.
I guess so. Yeah, I guess you can get a hot dog.
You can get a Delta 9 joint and a hot
dog.
But
it's not like they're gonna let you open carry into the Country Music Hall of Fame either. So
they won't let you. Yeah,
well,
they have. Don't they have like a metal detector that you have to go through?
Exactly. Like,
makes sense.
So
stadium too, right?
Yeah, definitely not. You can't bring a gun into a stadium.
Good. I'm very happy for that.
Yeah. I mean, that's like from 2001.
There was I cannot remember if it's still a law. I'm pretty sure it is in Arizona. I mean, you can conceal carry and just all you need is a gun. You know what I mean?
Really?
Yeah.
Here you need a concealed carry permit.
Okay. In Arizona, because like when I was a pizza boy, all the pizza guys carried guns.
Really?
Because that was back in like 2014. Mm-hmm. That was right when like there was all this like stuff about YouTubers where pizza guys would get like assaulted and stuff, and
yeah, I mean,
we were all scared,
I try to not buy into that. Like, I often just walk on Broadway. I park for free, so I walk over a pedestrian bridge. I've actually, I've been a witness in a court case to a crime that happened on this pedestrian bridge. But at the same time, I've walked it at 4, 3, 5 a.m. with no weapon to get free parking.
Yeah.
And I've never had a problem.
Yeah.
So.
Well, that's an area where.
You just can't, like, listen to YouTube.
Yeah.
You just have to know your city.
Really?
Yeah. And if you walk with purpose, that's the biggest thing for.
Yeah. No one's going to stop you.
Yeah. Start heel striking.
But Nashville is probably one of those places where, if there is an underground mafia or gang thing going on, they probably don't want to bother people because the tourism is bringing so much money in.
Mm-hmm.
So kind of like, the cartel cities in Mexico, where it's like even criminals don't want to scare people here because, then they're not going to be able to pickpocket them.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know of any, like, big crime groups.
Neither do I. Wink, wink.
That work on Broadway in any capacity.
Yeah.
But there's definitely like shady stuff that happens, but it involves drugs or homeless people.
Yeah.
Or like someone in your business skimmed your cash tips. It's not really like.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean, things like that can definitely happen in popular bars.
Yeah.
I don't know anything for sure, so I don't want to, like, say X did it to Y. But, I've definitely heard of things like that through hearsay.
Yeah.
And it's not out of the realm of possibility in my imagination.
Yeah. A lot of that probably comes through your location. Like your business and everything.
Well, every bar deals with a lot of cash tips in Nashville, so it could be totally feasible that it could happen at any bar.
Yeah. And,
some people I'm close with who also work on Broadway that might have been like, in like management positions.
Yeah.
Have expressed the opinion to me that, if you're like a higher up management position at a bar on Broadway, and it brings in so much money a year, a lot of which is cash. It's such a stressful job. Sometimes people, especially because a lot of the bars on Broadway happen to be owned by like single, very rich people.
Of course.
And as opposed to like an investment group. A lot of them are owned by investment groups. Some are owned by single, very rich, wealthy people. So especially in those cases, it's more likely. Like, there's so much cash business going on, and it's such a rowdy party town. I've had people express the idea to me that like, if your GM is only skimming like $5,000 in cash a year total, and he's good at what he does, maybe that's just the price you pay. And I'm being honest. I know you're laughing, but I've had people look me in the eye and be like, yeah, maybe that's what happens.
It's only funny because
it's
true.
I'm not high enough up to say like this guy did it specifically.
Oh, well,
but yeah, I definitely felt like a plausible scenario when I heard that. You know what I mean?
Sure. First of all, how could any business, like any of these businesses we're talking about, not somehow be, having to do something like that? It's just part of the game. It's expected. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I've also heard things like that expressed to me as complaints. And also just as observations. Right. So, from different parties.
Yeah.
So I think that it happens.
Fair enough.
You know what I mean?
Fair enough. The ends justify the means, though.
Yeah, for those businesses, for sure.
Yeah, the world the world needs these places. I mean.
Yeah, I mean, Nashville is a very unique city.
Yeah, it is adult Disneyland, as we say.
Yeah, that's the best way to describe it.
Yeah. What is let's see, what is your resume? So we start off, we were taking like what happened today. You were the only bouncer today. You work at Whiskey River. Mm-hmm. You used to work.
I used to work at Kid Rock's, which is one of the biggest bars on Broadway.
And my current favorite place right now.
Yeah, it's very fun. It's guaranteed hearing damage if you don't bring earplugs.
So much fun.
Yeah. It was the third highest grossing bar in the continental United States in the year 2020 or 2021, I believe.
Wow.
Yeah, so it is crazy.
Yeah. I go there so far I've lived here for 3 weeks. I've gone there every Saturday night after work at my lovely call center job. And there is nothing that just unwinds me more after making all these calls to people who don't want to be called, to just listen to this ear-bursting rock music. It's just like a concert there on a Saturday night. Like you are just shoulder to shoulder in these moshy pits. It's not a mosh pit, but you're just bumping and hitting everybody, and it's just, the guitar is really good. Like they have the best guitarists, and there's nothing like it anywhere else. Live music is such a dying art these days. Mm-hmm. Everyone's.
Not in Nashville.
That's the thing. Nashville is holding on to it like no other.
The place.
And it's like one of the last kind of beacons, And I mean, I've been to New Orleans and I've been to Austin, and they do have a great live music, but it's nothing like this.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a very cynical person, and my job will definitely make you cynical. But some of the people I work with are literally 19 and 20-year-old people that graduated high school and moved here to pursue a dream. It's crazy. Yeah. It's crazy to work with people like that.
Yeah.
In some cases,
What's the craziest thing about it? Like, is it crazy because you see them? Is it like the hope in their eyes? Is it or is it the hopelessness in their eyes?
No, it's usually the hope. And then sometimes you're pleasantly surprised and they're really good.
Yeah.
And you're like, man, you might make it.
It's touching when you meet somebody who actually, if this person was on the radio, you would listen and you would enjoy it. It's really tough when you meet those people and they're not where you think they deserve to be.
Yeah, I guess so. I don't know. There's a lot of luck involved.
Yeah.
You see enough cases and you're like, who knows what will happen,
But but remember, success is like a murder. You have to have the motivation and the opportunity. It's not, you have to have the luck, but you also have to have the skills for when you get the luck, you can actually succeed.
Yeah.
So it's so sad when you meet people who haven't had the luck, per se.
Yeah, and, not all luck is random. There's a lot of connections that can be involved.
Yeah.
Yeah. But skill can triumph too, Hippies and Cowboys. A band that I've watched move up over time just from working, and
probably
they're all cool guys, and now they're making a lot of money, I'm sure, at the main stage.
Yeah, you know more about them than me. I've seen them twice. They're probably right, like them and Dean James, I think, are the two best acts I've seen at that place.
Yeah.
Are they kind of like the two headliners as far as acts go?
Dean's been a headliner for a long time. As far as I've heard, for the past month, Dean James has been out like recording or something. He's doing something. He's not playing Kid Rock as much, but I know you saw him.
Something like a week ago or something like that.
But he's like
freaking amazing show.
Yeah, the main acts at Kid Rock are the Maris brothers and Rachel.
Rachel?
Yeah, we don't know what her band name is, but
Rachel.
If you work on Broadway, you know Rachel.
Okay.
She is an unforgettable character.
Yeah.
She's a front woman for a rock band.
Is she the one that, like, the first time you met her, she just kind of came up and was like, what did she say? Like,
yeah, the first time I met Rachel, so she has a very northeastern, like Philly and Jersey raspy voice accent, right?
Yeah.
First time I met Rachel, I'm talking to two off-duty police officers that work at Kid Rock. We're in like a semicircle conversation. Rachel walks up and completes the circle and goes, I'm not going to imitate her voice, but she said, yeah, I fucking just got raped in the ass on fucking parking again.
And that was the first time you met her.
Yeah, that was the first thing Rachel ever said.
The first time you met this amazing act that works at one of the top bars in the country.
Yeah, I'm sure she probably clears $2 or $3 grand.
And first thing she says is, I just got raped in the ass again. By fucking parking.
Yeah, I mean, you can afford it.
Yeah.
That's not the first thing that rubbed me the wrong way. But later on, it's like, come on, Rachel. Like, you try to get people kicked out because they only gave you $10.
What?
Yeah, no, imagine if you tipped the lead singer of a band at a popular concert and they were like, that's not enough money. You're a fucking idiot. That's the type of shit I've heard Rachel say on stage.
Well.
Yeah. It's funny to use her real name. But, like, you know who I'm talking about. Like, if you're in Nashville,
I just
like, you know it's been worse than what
I've just thrown a few singles before in, like, the tip bucket. And it's like, if someone kicked me out, I'd be like, what the...
like she'll get into arguments with patrons.
Really?
It's hilarious.
Yeah. I mean, that's what you go for. Like sometimes
it's fun. I liked it more than I hated it. I think some other people hated it.
I think some performers know the fact that the whole you can catch more flies with honey thing is kind of BS. Like because sometimes you can catch a lot of flies with just shit.
Yeah. I mean,
like honestly, let's throw some honey on the ground and some shit on the ground. See where the flies go. I guarantee you there'll be more on the shit.
So. Yeah, it depends.
I've never actually
homeless people love honey. Drunk people sometimes require some force to be communicated.
I hate to veer off for a second, but do flies even eat honey?
I'd imagine. I mean, it's a natural sugar.
The sugar in it. So they probably do. I've never really seen.
I mean, the euphemism wouldn't exist without.
Yeah.
Some basis in reality, right?
Sure, but like a lot of, those kind of sayings come from weird like perspectives that actually don't add up to the current perspective. Like, you know that old saying like, starve a cold, feed a fever? Like, okay, so there's an old person saying like, starve a cold, feed a fever.
Interesting.
And what people think it means is that you're supposed to eat less when you have a cold, but eat more when you have a fever. But it's not that. What it means is if you don't eat when you have a cold, you are feeding a fever. So when you starve yourself when you have a cold, you're probably going to get a fever because you're not giving your body the nutrients. But the problem is it's a stupid saying because it can be taken in two different ways. So like a lot of times people say like things like these sayings, they're actually saying them in wrong ways. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like Robert Frost's poem, the whole two roads diverging, was actually meant to be like a satirical thing where both...
Like when people say ATM machine.
ATM machine, yeah, exactly. But like Robert Frost, like that story about the two roads, you think it means you should take the road less traveled, but if you actually read the poem, what it really means is both roads don't mean shit. Like he was making fun of the idea of thinking that one road meant something. But now we look at it as if we should always take the road less traveled. Fuck the road less traveled, man. Like it's all bumpy and shit.
Yeah.
Sorry to veer off topic. I just was really curious about that fly thing. But
yeah, I don't know if flies eat honey or not.
I'm sure they do.
Probably, yeah. It's highly likely.
Yeah.
Logically.
Yeah. You take a break?
Yeah, we can take a break.
Cool. We'll be right back.
Today's video is sponsored by Limpy the Quail. Limpy the Quail is a beautiful children's book that was written by William Beans with illustrations by Hattie Hyder. What really got me about this book was Hattie Hyder's unbelievably beautiful and nostalgic illustrations. They remind me of the covers of old Roald Dahl books like Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory and Danny, Champion of the World. It's lush and saturated with these wonderful watercolors. And the baby quail just get cuter and cuter. Children will love the pictures, and adults are going to find something very fascinating about the story. Limpy the Quail is surprisingly deep in its narrative. It's about a papa quail who hurts himself and can only walk on one leg. He's also got 6 babies he's got to watch after. I wish I could lie to you guys, but the truth is that my eyes get pretty misty when I read about this papa quail overcoming his ailment. It's a genuine heartfelt story. Limpy the Quail is about how problems don't just go away. Sometimes we have to find a way to work with what hurts us. Limpy the Quail creates that same feeling as watching a Renaissance Disney film with a child. You know, the child will be dancing, "I can't wait to be king," and you're just bawling because the film is so beautiful and it's conjuring up memories and it's making you feel like a kid again and you're seeing stuff that you didn't see before. It's a lot like that. There's layers. So please check out Limpy the Quail. It is available on Amazon, written by William Beans, illustrations by Hattie Hyder, and layout by Vinny. That's Limpy the Quail, available on Amazon.
We are back.
We're back.
Yeah. Great first podcast, I have to say.
Yeah, I'm happy with it.
Let's break the fourth wall for a brief minute, to all 0 of our listeners.
Yeah.
All 0 of them.
Thank you. If you come back and listen to this from the future, thank you.
Yeah. So, Nashville. I moved here 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
I came here because I loved the idea of free live music all the time.
Yeah. You're what we would describe as someone who drank the Kool-Aid.
Yeah. So what did you come here for?
I came here it was a combination of 3 reasons.
Combination of 3 reasons.
The main reason, my brother moved here because he was already a musician.
Yeah.
Purchased a house, having moved from California for the real estate market here, and wanted to start a business where I would be a sound engineer and we would rent out sound equipment and kind of provide band services to weddings. And also I was fed up with my job in Orlando, and my ex was also moving to Tennessee, but she ended up moving 4 hours away and we broke up.
Yeah.
So it happens. Yeah. But I'm happy with it. I really love Tennessee.
Yeah. And you just stayed because you found what do you love about it? Because obviously you don't love drinking that Kool-Aid that apparently I love so much.
Yeah, I'm not too into the music scene, but being around a scene like that, like the trickle down benefits, I really enjoy.
Yeah.
And I love the big city feel that Nashville provides, despite the small square footage.
Yeah. It's the smallest, biggest city there is.
Yeah, it really is. And Nashville's kind of been my first opportunity to really work like downtown in a city where it's a tourist destination.
Yeah.
So it's very, very fun. Like, I enjoy the benefits of that quite a bit.
It's very stimulating.
Yes.
It's very stimulating.
Yeah. I mean, every day at work is a concert for 8 hours or less, or maybe slightly less. But
yeah, gosh, it's awesome.
Yeah,
that's what I love. I come from Arizona. It is not a very big live music place. Mm-hmm. There's DJs. There's clubs and everything. Exclusive, pretty much DJ music, and it's good. If you understand what EDM is, and especially if you have the right sound equipment, a subwoofer provides a whole different layer of music that nobody really hears when you're just listening to EDM, like on your iPod. Yeah. iPod. No one has iPods anymore. Your
phone.
Your AirPods. That's what I meant to say. When you're listening to it on your AirPods or on a laptop or on a TV or something, it's not the same as when you're actually in front of that subwoofer. It's a whole different experience,
Yeah.
But Nashville to me is I didn't even realize this thing was still going on. You know, I didn't know people were still doing this.
Very, very unique place.
So beautiful for me. But there is like this trickle down thing that you're into. Mm-hmm. Now, is that just the people, or because you don't really your favorite thing is just getting out there. You know, you play volleyball, you do jiu-jitsu, you dance. That's something we haven't talked about yet. Is you're actually...
Well, I quit doing jiu-jitsu and then I picked up dance.
You picked up dance after you quit doing jiu-jitsu. And when I say dance, we're talking, of course, about like...
Country, swing, and two-step dance.
Country, swing, and two-step. And
which is it's big in Nashville.
Which is big in Nashville. Like, you're more into dancing than you are music.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. 100%.
Yeah. Take us through, like, how long did you do dancing? The dance...
I've taken about 3 months worth of lessons.
3 months worth of lessons. Okay, so you're probably like advanced beginner kind of thing, like in the broad spectrum of things, like because you know we all know that one professional dancer who does like the crazy salsa, you know, kicks and everything, and it's like
I mean, I don't have experience with multiple styles.
No, I'm just saying on level wise.
Yeah,
like as far as advanced goes, that would put you at advanced beginner in the broad spectrum of what it means to be a dancer, I guess.
If I was at a normal wedding, I would be in the top 3 dancers.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
What is it that, like, was it just the girls? I mean, let's be honest. Like, was it just the girls that got you into it? I mean...
At first, yes. And then probably about 2 or 3 lessons in, I started to realize that dancing's all about, like, footwork. And my footwork when I played sports was horrible, and that resulted in a lot of my injuries.
Yeah.
So it became a little bit of a mental challenge.
Yeah.
And also, like, catching the beat is a lot of a mental challenge.
Yeah.
And developing, like, muscle memory in your legs was a new thing to me.
Yeah.
And then as I moved up and I started doing dips where you lift your dance partner off their feet rather.
Yeah.
That is very, very similar to, like, a hip toss, which is a important move in judo, which it kind of became like when I first started dancing, I was like, man, this is the opposite of fighting. And then as I got better, I'm like, you know, this is, you know, the more you understand bodies and how they can interact together and how leverage works, you're going to be able to manipulate people better. And it's almost harder to manipulate your dance partner because you need to be in control the whole time.
Yeah.
Like if you're throwing someone to the ground, you need to create a lever and then create a lot of force. Yeah. If you're going to dip your dance partner and support her whole body weight, and she weighs 120 pounds, you know, or something like that, 140.
Yeah.
You can't have your back in the wrong position, not at 160. You know, so you need to create the lever perfectly. Yeah. Have your hands in the right position and execute the move very, very smoothly. And if you do it right, the girl won't even know it's coming, which is ideal in dancing. So, you know, when I first started this, I was like, man, this is the opposite of fighting, and I just suck, and I have 2 left feet, but I'm going to keep with it. I like it. You know, there's hot girls.
Yeah.
But as I got better, I was like, you know, maybe my skill set does apply to this a little bit more.
Clearly.
You know, and the more advanced moves that I've learned so far, not that I'm super advanced, you know, I'm still a beginner, definitely.
Yeah.
But, you know, like I love the dips because I was like, these, you know, the distribution of body weight is something I'm more familiar with.
Yeah. And so you fell into that rhythm and that style and just that.
Yeah, and those are flashier moves.
Yeah.
So, like, when the flashier moves come naturally, obviously you're going to like the hobby more.
You're going to like the hobby more because you can now kind of show off.
Yeah, exactly. You're getting what you want out of it.
Yeah.
You know?
Kind of like, so like for me, an example would be like, you know, when I was learning guitar, when I started learning the pentatonic scales and the blues scales, that's kind of what you solo with.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's like the building blocks for soloing. And when you first learn that, and you learn that you can kind of show off a little bit to maybe someone who doesn't know guitar too well, and they can kind of say, oh, you know, like that's kind of cool. That all of a sudden motivated me. It's like, okay, this is no longer about getting girls. You know,
yeah, exactly.
Playing the guitar is no longer about getting a girl.
This is just interesting.
It's now interesting that I've like found this little thing where if you do this, it kind of it turns some heads.
Yeah.
You know?
I've found myself in a scenario in dancing that I wouldn't have imagined when I started.
Okay.
Where I'll be dancing with a someone that is younger and more conventionally attractive,
Okay.
and they are not as fun of a partner to dance with as someone else that I've danced with that maybe is older.
Yeah.
And
Experience.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm like, I don't care about what you look like. Like, I wish I was dancing with that 50-year-old chick who provides great tension because I care about how this dance is going.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I never thought I'd find myself in that scenario, but I did within like 2 months.
Dancing with someone who knows what they're doing
It's very fun.
It's a very different experience from just hobbling around.
Yeah.
You know, it's goofy when you're with someone who doesn't know what they're doing, and maybe even you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah.
It's goofy, it's fun,
Yeah.
but at the same time, when you dance with someone who really knows what they're doing, it becomes you become the star of the show. You know,
Yeah.
like I was at Scoreboard 2 nights ago, work party. And dancing with the coworker who used to be the high school, you know, big in dance in high school, big in dance in college.
Yeah.
You know,
Someone with a lot of experience.
she worked for one of those like instructor companies. You know,
Okay, someone with a ton of experience.
Yeah, stupid amounts of experience, like, you know, and it just is one of those things where it's kind of like being all around cowboy and in a rodeo. It's like you get to a point where it's like, this just can't be a full-time job that's going to actually support me. And,
Yeah.
you know, I'm just not in the circumstance that's going to make it happen. So, you know, she's got to move on.
Job.
Now she sells RVs, you know,
Hell yeah.
and makes a ton of money doing that. But the thing is, you know, I'm getting to dance. She let me dance with her at Scoreboard. And it's like that place is not really set up for dancing.
Yeah.
You know.
But you can.
But
especially if you're dealing with people.
Oh, absolutely. And they encourage it, you know, but it's a small little area. And what happens is like you said earlier, if you were at a wedding, you'd be in the top 3%. So I'm at Scoreboards at the company party. So of course she is going to be in the top 1%.
Yeah, she's
you know?
going to be the best person.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and when I got to dance with her, you know, I was because I know very, very basic. You've had 3 months of lessons. I probably had 3 weeks of two-step lessons. And I was able to pretty much make her the star of the show. I was able to make her shine and just kind of do my part enough to not look bad and then make her look really, really good. Which of course makes everyone just, oh, you guys look so good. You guys are so great. You look at, oh my God, you're the star of the show. You know, that's fun. Like that feeling right there is fun. And yeah, they're not really saying it to me. Like they are saying it to me, but like they're mostly saying it to her because she knows what she's doing. But I was able to be a part of it because I knew a little bit. And that's what the attraction, that's the fun part, is the fact that you felt accomplished.
Yes.
Yeah. So you into 3 months in is like a whole nother thing. So you're doing things that you are actually now relating to martial arts.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's just because I really like martial arts, and that's what my previous experience is. I'm sure if you did any other sport, like if you played football in high school and you were like a receiver, maybe footwork would come much more naturally to you, you know?
Maybe, I mean.
Or if you played basketball and you had a great spin move,
maybe
you might be great at spinning.
Well, some guys are just natural, you know, athletes, which means
Yeah.
they're just naturally, you know, gifted at footwork in general. So maybe they are good at dancing. I mean, I really don't know a lot of, you know, knucklehead athletes that, you know, from my past that were any good at dancing, you know, except for maybe just grinding on the hottest girl at the
Well,
prom,
yeah, but I mean,
you
like,
know?
you don't know, like, if they had put
you don't know.
time in to learn lessons, you don't know where they'd be. You know?
No, you don't know. But the truth is you do need those lessons.
Mm-hmm.
You can't just do it. Like, it's not, it's never really going to be a natural thing. You do have to be taught a little bit
for sure.
dancing.
For
You might be able to
two step
watch.
is not a natural motion. at all.
Exactly. You might be able to watch and learn, but you're not just going to pick it up, you know.
Yeah.
It takes, like, that's what's kind of interesting about dancing is it really feels like a culture thing because it's always handed down, you know.
Yeah.
You either learn from your mom or you choose to go and learn from an instructor.
Well, it's kind of being lost because you know, it's like a niche hobby.
Yeah, it is.
But it's awesome because a lot of people like to go do it, and if you're into it,
Yeah. It's niche, but a lot of people do it. Like, it's...
a lot of people do it once or twice.
Really? You don't see people come back a lot?
I mean, there's a large group of people that do it over and over, but I feel like dancing in general, most people do it like at the company work party, at their wedding. That's it.
Oh, most people, yeah. I guess you're right. I guess what you're kind of saying is there was a time when everybody danced.
Yeah, exactly.
That's true. That is true. Like,
or at least it was more common.
Yeah.
Like in the 50s.
Yeah.
I feel like it was more of a thing.
Yeah. Why did it stop?
I don't know.
Because I know that, like, it used to be a thing where...
Or like disco clubs, big dancing
Did disco?
It's not couples dancing, I guess.
Did disco kill couples dancing?
Maybe.
Did disco kill the two-step or just everyone? Because here's the thing, like, did you ever read Grapes of Wrath?
Yes.
So, like, remember the part where, like, you know, they go to a dance, and it's like the biggest dance. It's a huge thing, this country dance. And it's the thing is that there was a time, clearly, when it was really, really cool or positive or encouraging for country people to go dancing, you know, for, you know, maybe redneck or
well, you still
cowboy.
feel that in Nashville a little bit.
Sure, but I just have to say, like, from where I grew up and even the people I know now,
Yeah, it could be bigger.
Some of the most country people I know think dancing is just ridiculous, and for you know, maybe homosexuals or for women only. And if they do dance, it's a very, very tight, you know, very uncomfortable kind of 1-1-2-1, 1-1-2-1, just a
That's
waltz
how
or
I
something.
started. Yeah, it's hard to loosen up.
But exactly, yeah, that's how you always start. But it's just, how come there was this time where apparently everybody was dancing, and now all of a sudden it's like dancing is weird? Because, like,
maybe the TV, because pre-TV, the centerpiece of the home would have been the vinyl player or the radio.
Yeah.
So you had more space to dance.
We were a lot more akin to sound.
Yeah, you can't dance to a sitcom like the Eddie Griffith Show or whatever.
Yeah.
You're watching it.
People got into just sitting down for their entertainment. Like, they would
be my
just
guess,
sit
yeah.
and watch stuff, you know?
Yeah.
We're going to sit and watch the big band play. We're not actually going to... Yeah, I mean, they did dance to big band for a while, but obviously eventually it just kind of fizzled out. Like,
yeah,
you know, because I had a cousin growing up who, like, had plenty of ladies, you know what I mean? Like, he always had a good girlfriend or something, and like, you're jealous, you know what I mean? Like, I wanted to have that girl or something. But then, you know, prom finally came, and out of nowhere, I have a date to prom. I don't know how. Like, It just came out of nowhere. Just met girl in the perfect situation, the perfect thing, the perfect, like, whatever. Like, fine, I'm happy. I'm just grateful that I had someone. He's got multiple girls pretty much offering to pay for the whole thing.
Wow.
They're gonna pay for the limo because they want him to be her date because he's got a girlfriend, you know.
Yeah.
And she's basically offering to pay for the limo. To pay for, you know, whatever costs. I can't remember what costs going to
He had
prom.
like girls he wasn't involved with offering the same thing?
Well, it's just, I'm saying that
Pretty
if
crazy.
if he didn't want to go with this girl, he could have easily gotten another girl to
Yeah.
pretty much give him the same deal.
Okay.
Because he was just, I mean, you know, he was
one of the most popular guys and girls won't have an experience.
well, you know what it was? He was one of those, like, humbly popular guys where he didn't give a shit if he got to sit at the big table with all the quarterback and the wide receiver and everything. Like, he would hang out with his own friends one day, he would hang out with some family the next day, he would hang out with the cool kids one day. Like, he really just didn't care about popularity. But the weird thing was like he had the girlfriend and everything, and prom came around and she wanted to pay for the limo, and she was like, I can't remember if she paid for the tux or not, but like she was offering to just pay for everything, and he still said no. And it's because he was like, I'm not gonna go dance. Like, I'm not gonna go dance. Like,
That's so stupid.
I agree. I couldn't figure it out. But I'm just, the point is like, when did it go from country people all wanting to dance? Because he was really country. My cousin was really country. When did it go from country people all wanting to dance to now being, what, 10%? Like, you said it was a niche hobby.
Yeah.
When did that happen?
I don't know. The only other factor I could think of, other than the TV to vinyl player transition,
I think you're probably right. I mean,
or sometimes I think about like the Beatles getting popular. They were so popular, people are like packed in like sardines. You can't really dance.
Yeah.
Like, you think about American Bandstand,
Mhm.
there's people dancing. It's not packed in. You think about a Beatles concert, there's like 12-year-old girls killing each other to get over the barrier.
You know, I bet
You can't dance in that.
I bet having a
You need
specific,
space.
a quote unquote dance floor is probably a logistical nightmare for an expensive venue, because it's like you
You have
want
to
to
build
pack,
it in.
you want to sell as many tickets as possible,
Yeah.
and if you have to pretty much, it's like you have this area.
Well, it's a bar thing. Bars are the ones that have it.
Yeah, yeah, but it's like I'm saying maybe because you're saying concerts, like American Bandstand was almost like a concert, you know.
Yeah.
But they would have a dance floor.
Uh-huh.
But the thing is, like, at some point, I think a vendor was like, if we get rid of this dance floor and put seats, we can sell like $40,000 more of tickets.
Yeah. Well, before like, Beatlemania type of stuff, popular musicians would play in stuff like Madison Square Garden, but they'd also play in like clubs.
Yeah.
Right. So you could like go to like an Ella Fitzgerald performance and dance if it's at a club.
Yeah.
It might be very expensive or very high end.
I'd be dancing at that.
But exactly. You could do something.
I'd be, oh my gosh.
Or,
can't imagine.
But like, that's not happening at a Beatles concert in the 60s. Like, you're a sardine.
Yeah.
So, I think maybe...
Or Elvis.
Maybe like the transition to these crazy concert experiences.
Yeah.
People don't really dance at those until like...
You just jump around.
Yeah, maybe EDM came along and that changed, but that's way later.
Yeah, and even then, the dancing...
nowhere near couples dancing.
Yeah, and EDM dancing is more like a jellyfish movement kind of thing. You're kind of feeling the groove and doing your thing. It's not like a choreographed thing. Like,
well, a lot of that stuff can be applicable in salsa.
True.
The hand movements.
You're talking about EDM or you're talking about two-step?
Just the hand movements you would do in EDM.
EDM, hand movements, salsa.
The flowy stuff.
Salsa's a cool dance. I don't think I'll ever learn it.
I'd like to get better at that. That'd be the next dance I'd learn if I got really good at country swing.
I guess I'd learn the basics. I feel like with what little time I have, learning just enough two-step to get by is hard enough, Like throwing salsa in there would just be...
Well, if I do it a long time.
Yeah.
It's a long-term project.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
I'm not attempting to win a dance tournament next year.
Yeah, no, I mean...
It's just a for fun thing.
I took my 3 weeks of...
And girls like it.
They do.
And it's an excuse to touch them. That's really... It all boils down to that.
Yeah, because we all know that, like...
It's an excuse to talk to and touch a hot girl.
It's the only time she will grab your hand and pull you somewhere.
Yeah.
That's not your, like, girlfriend.
Yeah. Well, if you grab a girl's hand and pull her somewhere on the dance floor, great. If you do that on the street...
Anywhere else.
If you do that on the street, you're going to jail.
If you do that with your own wife, it's still considered, like, if you grab her like that, and just, like, start pulling her, it's not fun. Like, people think something's wrong, Yeah,
in the dance community, they're just like, oh, he's a goat roper. Tennessee, what are you gonna do?
A goat roper? That's where you just grab their wrist and go.
Yeah, that's when you're flinging them around too hard.
A goat roper.
Yeah,
that's beautiful. My sister used to do goat roping.
Really?
It's like I see the similarities.
I mean, women can be goat ropers, but if you're a guy and you keep your elbows to your body...
I mean, she was a literal goat tire, like in rodeos and stuff.
Wow,
like they would open up the gate, she would go whip her lasso around and tie up a goat. So like, it makes sense because it looks kind of the same way, like the way you're flicking this animal around.
Yeah.
I didn't mean she would goat rope at dances. I mean, she actually like did competition for goat roping.
Yeah. Another common saying.
Yeah.
Not my first goat roping.
Not my first goat roping. Sounds like some Bill Cosby. If Bill Cosby was a cowboy, he'd have been a goat roper.
Understanding the dance meaning of goat roping, that kind of gives like a negative connotation to the term. Like, man, there's dudes out here flinging y'all around.
Yeah. Well, some girls probably want to be absolutely just obliterated. They
not on a dance floor, I wouldn't say.
Oh, so there's no... I don't mean... I've never had one. I'm just saying. There's got to be some...
It can be very hard on their shoulder.
Yeah.
If you fling their shoulder in the wrong direction and they try and spin.
Okay.
You really want to place your hand and let them do the most of the work.
Yeah, that's true. You want to make them look good. I just know every girl I've ever danced with... Well, not every. Most girls, they like just the gentle movements and everything, but once in a while... You get this girl who is just like wanting you to just whip her around hard, and she is just usually because she's drunk.
Interesting.
But you never had that? I guess
that's when you would do a lift dip because you can take them off their feet safely.
Yeah.
If you're a more advanced dancer.
Yeah. I just tell them to stop leading.
Yeah. True. Yeah.
I don't know how to is that okay? I'm curious.
You can also do a move where you release them and you let them fucking do their shit.
Oh, and just get it all out?
Yeah, just and then spin 50 times and then go grab them.
Yeah. That's probably smart. That's probably what they want.
A good way to do it.
Just let me go and let me spin.
Yeah.
You know.
But you have to also kind of spin them so they know what the fuck is happening.
Okay, so I'm curious. Is there is the woman ever lead?
So let's say you go to the popular dancing bar in Nashville, which is called Nashville Palace. Which is probably my favorite bar we've been to. It's more commonplace for... Alright, it's pretty commonplace for a woman to ask a man to dance there. But it is mostly assumed that the man will lead the dance.
Okay, good.
Now, if there's a big experience gap, or if you know them, or if you're like trying to do something, it can happen.
Okay, when I say good, I don't mean like good. Men should always be leading. What I mean is like I don't know how to let a girl lead me in dancing. I was taught to lead. Like when I took lessons.
Yeah, that's the big drawback. Like guys don't know how to follow.
Why would everyone tells us not to?
Yeah,
like,
and it's harder, so they're not going to be good at it.
Yeah, and I mean, women are very like graceful, and to follow, you have to be very graceful. You have to be able to kind of flow into these directions. I think not leading is harder.
Yes,
probably
100%.
I think the reason they let us lead is because it's easier.
Yes, I agree.
So I don't understand why.
That's why you don't want to back lead as a woman, because your partner will not know what the fuck they're doing.
Yeah, it's weird. And that's why whenever I've been in those situations where she's trying to like whip me around or something, it's just I always like stop. Like this is weird. Like I can't do this. You can't just whip me around or something. I'm not your. It's probably because usually they're used to like dancing with like a little brother or something.
Well, when that happens, you have to push them back. Like they're providing a lot of attention, so you keep your hand where it is. Hopefully, you're stronger, and then you lead them into a move, and then they do some shit.
Yeah, I mean
that's really the only way to handle it.
Yeah, or you just tell them to stop leading.
Yeah,
that's what I usually do. Is like listen, I can't let you lead. Like I don't know how.
Ideally, if you're a Casanova, you'll lead them into a move and like pull them back, and like, it's my dance. Or something
it's
like
my
that.
dance.
Something like that,
Casanova.
Something like that.
Yeah, Mr. Bringing a pig as a present.
And then she tases you.
Oh yeah. I like the idea where what you said is like if she's trying to lead you, let her go,
release her,
and let her spin around or do whatever the fuck she is, and then come back, and then you start leading again.
Make her dizzy.
Yeah. Dancing is fun. I don't know why people have such a problem with it.
It's very, very nerve-wracking.
You think so?
Yeah, for a lot of people, definitely nerve-wracking.
Oh, for a lot of people, like
definitely nerve-wracking for me. Like,
you think so?
Yeah, the first 10 seconds of a dance is pretty rough. I usually start with very basic moves.
Yeah, you have to. Like you do the little triangle, like pull back and twist,
but I'd like to make that a lot better.
Yeah,
I'd like to plan out my routine.
I'm not going to sit here and pretend that like I'm trying to be the great, like a flashy dancer. I just want to do some moves, laugh, move on. Like if my dancing is going to be the only thing that gets her to like me, we probably weren't going to do very well.
Yeah, I don't know. I like dancing. I'd like to be better at it.
I guess I
like the kinesthesiology behind the moves, the more advanced moves. Yeah. So I'd like to master those. Like I feel like if I can get to a point where I can pull off a more advanced move that's impressive with a beginner partner, that would be where I want to get to.
When you started dancing, did you see any increase in performance at your bouncing job?
No, but that's only because I haven't had an altercation at my bouncing job in about 3 or 4 months. I think, yes, I would experience an increase in performance.
You feel like more confident in your abilities?
100%. Yeah.
You've probably just been working out those muscles. It's the same core muscles probably.
I'm honestly, I think judo is severely underrated in any street confrontation, and like it can work on someone of any size. So I think the lift dip, like you can it's a 3-step thing when you're lifting a dance partner.
Mm-hmm.
You could just do the first 2 steps and not lift them and push them over.
Yeah.
I would go for that. I think that is high on my list of things I would go for if I were to get into an altercation.
Yeah.
And I learned that directly from a dance class.
That is so cool.
Yeah, that's what I really like about it.
Did you ever read The 5 Rings by Musashi?
I've heard quite a bit about it. Might not have read the whole book.
I just listened to the audiobook. But the interesting thing about that book is that one of the main principles of the samurai, per se, is like you're not supposed to just dedicate your life to fighting. You're supposed to also dance. You're supposed to also do calligraphy. You're supposed to also do painting. You're supposed to also learn music and horseback riding. And the idea is that and sports. And the idea is that by doing all these things, you realize that success kind of comes from the same thing. It's all this kind of just understanding of how things work and the process works and how to push your body into different like shapes to create these circumstances of success. And I think that's what's interesting about you saying you learned a physical like martial arts style move in a dance class.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
I'm not saying everyone that takes that dance class interprets it like that.
Probably not.
But, I was aware of that move from my experiences before.
Yeah.
And then as soon as I pulled it off in dance class, I was like, I don't have to hold them. Yeah. I could push them.
Yeah.
I have complete control of their body.
Yeah.
So obviously I'm not going to drop the dance instructor.
Yeah.
I'm going to put her back correctly. But if I was in a fight scenario and I did the same thing, that would be devastating to your opponent.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just interesting that like you probably get inspired for like dances when you're at the bouncing job. You probably get inspired for bouncing style, like martial arts style, when you're at the dancing.
100%, yeah.
Because that's like me. Like I get inspired to write a certain story by going through a situation that's going to be akin to that story. Yeah. So you're in the middle of falling asleep at church, and you start thinking about a story about what church would be like if it was actually cool or something, and so that becomes a short story about like a church trying too hard to be cool and trying to get like Instagram booty models or something to like akin for their sins or something, or repent their sins. And next thing you know, you have like a weird short story that you just write. But you're like, it's the same thing with like dancing. It's you're in dancing, you're like, well, hey, I could use this. You're dipping a girl, you're like, hey, I could use this to like really hurt somebody. Yeah,
for sure. There's a lot of unknown synergies there.
Yeah.
It's there in other hobbies too. Like I guess just like the more you understand about the body, the more patterns you're gonna notice between physical hobbies.
Yeah.
You can't go wrong understanding more about your own body. You only become healthier. It's only a good thing generally.
Yeah. Volleyball has been interesting.
Yeah. Tough on your knees.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to play in the sand.
Yeah. That was unfortunate. Playing volley, I hadn't played in probably 19 years. Yeah. By the last time I really tried to play volleyball.
For the listeners, we went to like a free 2-hour just come through community center volleyball thing.
It was a pickup game.
Yeah, pickup.
We went to a pickup volleyball game, and I hadn't been in 19 years.
For me, it was 14.
14 years?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. It was like
maybe 12 actually.
It was a great workout. I was really in pain afterwards. But it's like I had never done anything like that kind of athletic ever, really.
Really?
And I mean, I was in football in high school and stuff. And
that wasn't worse than that.
This was probably worse than football.
Really? That's crazy.
Probably not. Well, you gotta understand, football is just running into people and trying to block them and stuff. I wasn't like a running back or anything. Yeah. I wasn't a linebacker. I was an offensive lineman.
I didn't really break much of a sweat during the volleyball.
Oh well, good for you. For me it was when I say it was hard, it wasn't so much like actual it was physical hard. It's just I have tendonitis in both my knees.
Yeah.
And they hurt.
Oh yeah, it looked horrible for your knees.
It
was a sport that was specifically bad on your knees.
And my thing is like I'm not very good at it, so I was gonna try as hard as I could. So if I had to dive, I was diving, you know, and that really hurt my knees. Which is that I knew that was gonna happen. I knew the consequences. When I say it was worse than football, I don't mean worse. Yeah, I mean apples and oranges.
Like more tiring than football?
Once again, I mean you're only just running into people. Then you get when in football practice or in a football game, you run into someone, then you get a break. You know, then you it's only 8 seconds.
Yeah.
Like every play lasts like an average of 5 seconds, 8 seconds. I mean,
volleyball was absolutely cakewalk compared to like any wrestling or boxing or running.
Well, martial arts is a whole different story, I think.
Yeah, because it's like you just get pushed until you give up.
I think any martial artist would probably be able to take on most football players. Like
in a fight?
Well, in a match.
It depends on like size and understanding.
That's the thing, understanding. Like the reason I was
depends on your martial art.
The reason I was so terrible at volleyball is I had no understanding. I didn't even know where you were supposed to hit it. Like I didn't really know what a set was. I didn't even know what a sub was.
Well, high-level football players in certain positions have skills that translate pretty well.
I'm sure. I'm sure.
And some of them are also huge, ridiculous physical specimens.
Massive.
Yeah, which translates very well.
Well, so are martial artists, though.
Yeah, true. I guess so. Yeah, I mean, like, no football players beating the heavyweight champion.
No, absolutely not. That's what I mean. Is like I think if you put a top football player against a top martial artist, like the football player is going to lose every time. I mean, I think if you put a top hockey player against a top football player, the football player is going to lose every time.
See, I don't know about that.
Hockey players are tough, man.
I don't like hockey.
You got to be tough and graceful.
See, a big part about fighting to me, if you're going to punch, is about rotating your feet. And I don't know if you can do that on ice.
You do it worse. You got the sharp edge of that skate that you can just hit, push at the ice, and you can just.
Because you got to plant your foot. I don't know.
They get in some
fights. I don't like
fights.
hockey, but I'm from Florida.
Well, yeah, I can't imagine why.
I'm very biased.
Well, hockey is just all I know is those guys are tough SOBs because they're allowed to fight. Football, you're not allowed to fight. I mean, that's
Are hockey fights real?
Yeah.
Is the WWE real?
Used to be.
How come someone from the WWE was able to become UFC champ, but no one from the NHL has ever entered the UFC?
Because they want to play hockey. Like,
but what if you got old, or what if you got cut from hockey? There's guys in the NFL that have tried the UFC.
Yeah, how'd they do?
He went like 500. He was kind of cherry picked, but he wasn't that bad, but he wasn't great.
Right.
And I mean, there's guys from WWE that did bad in the UFC.
Yeah.
But no one from hockey has ever tried it.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
No one?
Not
Is that a fact?
Not that I know of.
Well,
I mean, maybe someone in the UFC.
I don't want this to be one of those shows where we have to Google everything.
I'm just saying, but I'm not saying like hockey players aren't tough, but I think fighting on ice is way different than any other thing.
Probably.
You know what I mean?
Probably. I didn't so much mean that fighting on ice is what makes them tough per se. It's just the fact that it's a sport where they allow fighting.
Well, yeah, getting thrown into a wall can be fun. I'll give you that.
I'm just saying. I've heard stories about, that one bar.
I'm not trying to get checked.
Yeah, I just heard stories.
But the fights in hockey, I just don't like them.
You don't like watching them?
Yeah, compared to watching different types of fights.
I just heard those stories about places up in Boston, Philadelphia, places up in the north where, there's a bar where like the football team and the hockey team would always come to the same bar every Friday night and get in a big fight, and the hockey players would wipe the floor with them.
Really?
I've heard those stories. I wasn't there,
Crazy.
I didn't see the security camera footage. Didn't speed it up like Benny Hill or anything. But I've heard those stories, and I've heard that the hockey players are the ones you got to watch out for. You know, they're losing teeth all the time. And
well, we can all agree baseball is the incel sport.
The incel sport.
For the weakest individuals.
The weakest?
Yeah, you play this unevolved sport created in the 1860s. So it's not even a team sport.
You don't like baseball?
It's not. It doesn't make any sense at all. It's not a team sport.
Well, the defense is.
The defense doesn't really even come into play much in most high-level baseball games, really, right? Like, if you throw a no-hitter, how much does the defense come into play? If you hit a home run, how much does the defense come into play?
Yeah.
It's a 1v1 between the pitcher and then the 9 other guys.
It is all about the pitcher.
And then 8 dudes stand around. And they're like, okay, maybe I'll catch it.
I will say
it doesn't like I'm not like I don't hate baseball and I really love going to baseball games. I think they're awesome.
Me too. Like it's more about the experience though. It's not fun to watch on TV though.
Yeah, the sport does not make much sense. Really. Like compared to like basketball or football. I mean football also doesn't make a lot of sense, but it's at least makes more sense than baseball.
Yeah, I mean, I see kind of what you mean. It is a very weird sport.
Like hockey and basketball, very understandable.
It's goals.
You understand.
There's a goal. You got to get an object into the goal. You know, that's like a classic Mayan sport. You know.
Yes.
Baseball is this thing where it's like, you know,
it's pretty weird.
It is a weird sport. It comes from cricket, right? Like cricket inspired baseball. I'm assuming because we get everything from Europe.
I don't know because I think cricket's pretty young as well. So I think like the colonies had already split off. I think.
They're both weird sports. The whole throwing the ball, like what always I couldn't play baseball. As you guys can tell, I'm not very athletic, but like I couldn't play baseball because you're standing right in front of a guy who's hurling this 85-mile-an-hour ball at you.
Yeah, directly at you.
And there might be a chance that he just nails you in the face.
Yeah.
And it was, and especially when you're like young and these pitchers are just now learning how to pitch. You're getting hit all the time. So like in junior high, I was like, enough. Like, I'm not doing this anymore. Because you go from like machine pitch, like kids play machines, where they put a ball in the machine and it shoots it at you. Yeah. And it's like, so that way you know it's never going to hit your face. Yeah. But then like your first year of kid, we called it kid pitch. Yeah. That's where the kids, you know, the players are actually allowed to pitch finally. You never know where the hell this ball's going to go.
Yeah, I only ever played kid pitch.
Oh, my first year I was done. I never played baseball again after that.
I hated baseball, but
I'm not about
I never tried non-kid pitch.
I went t-ball, kid, and then kid pitch. It was like, nope, not for me.
Yeah.
Well.
Yeah, you want to call it?
Dude, what a great first podcast.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, working title still. Right now it's just the Nashville Hayden podcast. Please like and subscribe. Check out all the other videos. We're going to try to
smash that motherfucking like button.
Smash that like button. Yeah. Do what the algorithm says. Yeah. Buy the sponsor. Limpy the Quail is the name of the book.
Dollar Shave Club.
No. Limpy the Quail. That's the real stuff right there.
Your book?
That's my book on Amazon, man.
Yeah.
It's great.
Life changing.
Yeah, it is.
Riveting stuff.
Yeah. Thanks. Cool.
Thank you.
Ah.